Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
Texas mom thinks she's carrying twins. This is the most heartwarming story you'll hear today. This is the story of Lauren, a mom that had been trying for years to conceive with no avail. The narrative of Lauren and David Perkins, an incredible couple from Texas. Their process of conceiving a child had been heart-wrenching. A lot of failed attempts, despair, and even sought fertility specialists for help. As this was their inspiring journey, they were finally successful, and not just in one way, but they continually received blessings after blessings. Let's get into this incredible story and see how it all started. Stay in touch to see how it ends too. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. See, becoming a mom has always been a part of Lauren's life plan. With that in mind, she and her husband decided on consulting a fertility specialist after years of failures in various methods of conceiving a baby. The first doctor's visit was extremely overwhelming to Lauren. The specialist mentioned several drugs and injections that she'd have to introduce into her normal routine. Lauren badly wanted to find out what's wrong with her womb, and so she wasn't going for that route. They tried several methods of getting pregnant, but nothing worked. Thereafter, they tried another specialist. They found the approach of this one to be very different, although the plan of injections and drugs were the same. The family got some time off to think and pray about their issue. As they were processing and thinking about their options, they got a chance from their church to go for a mission trip in Nicaragua. One morning after morning devotion, they were asked to talk about their struggles. Lauren opened up about her fertility issues. Soon after, someone in the team shared her story with a pastor, hoping that she'll pray for her. That night, the pastor invited visitors from Texas to join the congregation and be prayed for. The pastor insisted and called Lauren and David to come to the front of the church and be blessed and prayed for. That emotional night, Lauren was prayed for by the members of the church. The members put their hands above Lauren and David's head as they prayed in Spanish. That night, the pastor spoke to Lauren and told her that God had big plans for her. She didn't know what the plans were, but they were big. At the time, Lauren thought it was strange of the pastor to see that, but that opinion has now changed, as you'll see for yourself towards the end of this amazing story. After they returned home, they returned to their doctor's appointment. Lauren didn't think much about the trip or even about what the pastor had told her. Lauren and her husband decided to try IUI. Maybe this would work this time. The statistics from this method could yield a 25% chance of pregnancy. The figure was not too great, but why not try it? They went ahead and the procedure was done, and after 2 weeks, guess what happened? She got the call. Lauren was pregnant. Finally, she was pregnant. The one thing that the Perkins ever wanted was to conceive, and it finally happened. They were so elated. But guess what? That's just not the end of the good news. The nurses had Lauren's beta level checked, and guess what the nurse said? Well, she said she was likely to have multiple kids. That's crazy. Everything was happening too fast. From thinking if the procedure would work at all, to possibly having multiple children? That would be a miracle. The doctors and nurses needed her to come back to the hospital and get more blood work done. She left for the checkup. Her blood work was done. From the results, they find out that the beta levels were even higher than before. Then they thought to check with the ultrasound machine. They did this. All the time Lauren's thinking, what's up with my womb? The thoughts roaming her mind were overwhelming. Lauren remembers calling her mom, telling her that she thinks she was going to have twins, maybe even triplets. During the ultrasound, the doctor wouldn't stop staring at the screen. It felt like an eternity. She asked the doctor how many babies he saw, and he said, well, I've counted 5. 5? 5? No way! The doctor started talking again and said, wait, I found a 6th one. 6 babies? Oh my god, impossible! Lauren was pregnant with 6 tuplets. She had thought of twins, but no, she instead had 6 in her womb. That 1% chance that they talk about in pregnancies? Yeah, she's one of them. How do you feel when you find out you're having 6 children? When you call your family and friends, they wouldn't believe you. As a mother and father, how are you supposed to feel? Joy, fear, worry, excitement? They were a glass full of jungled up emotions. So what's next, you ask? Well, they now have to think about reducing the number of babies, or if they want to keep all of them. The chances of growing 6 babies in one womb aren't the easiest, especially for the health and safety of your babies. The more you reduce, the better their chance of survival and health. This is agonizing. Lauren's family went through weeks of research, consultations, and a myriad of thoughts on what they should do. Time was also not on their side. They finally knew what they wanted, and they knew they'd never reduce the number of their babies. They stuck to it. They went back to the doctor with their decision to carry all 6 babies. The doctor said he'd help them get to 28 weeks, and their pregnancy journey continued. They had in mind that their babies would be born prematurely, and that changed their perspective. Lauren had to focus on keeping her babies in for as long as she could. She quit working at 17 weeks and began home rest. Lauren received a lot of support. Her family, friends, and church group took it upon themselves to help her prepare the nurseries, go for appointments, get baby items, and ultimately get everything ready and done for when the babies arrive. Lots of donations poured in from everyone that had heard her story. At 28 weeks, she was relieved because it meant that the babies had a good chance of survival. At 29 weeks, the doctor noted that one of the babies wasn't doing so well. At the same time, Lauren's blood pressure was also worrying. Lauren left for the hospital and was admitted on a Friday. Once she was stabilized, she had to wait for the hospital to get everyone available that would help in the smooth delivery of the sextuplets. On Monday morning, all the staff needed were available, and it was a good time since she had just clocked 30 weeks. This beautiful Monday morning fell on April 23, 2012. This was her delivery day. The delivery room was filled with 35 anxious and excited medical staff to help with the smooth delivery. Can you imagine that it only took 4 minutes to get all of the babies out safely? And that's how Andrew, Benjamin, Caroline, Lee, Allison, and Levi were introduced to the world. They each weighed between 1 and 2 pounds. Lauren was able to feel their little fingers one by one as they came out before they headed to the NICU. That was incredible. The health of the children wasn't healthy enough for them to be with their parents for the first few days. At 4 days old, baby Allison was the first baby to be stable enough to be held. What a joy for Lauren, right? This was after a team of nurses spent up to 10 minutes setting up the monitor and wires to enable the mother to hold the baby. Lauren later explained in a blog that when she first held her baby Allison, it was the first time she became a mom of sextuplets. The baby's first few weeks were extremely crucial to their lives. There were many worries about complications that result in disabilities and, even in the worst-case scenario, death. This was a thought that crossed the parents' mind, and it was devastating. Slowly but surely, all 6 of the babies recovered. The recovery journey wasn't the easiest. There were intense weeks of care and love from the neonatal facility staff to ensure the family got their babies. The babies took 4 months to properly recover. It was at 4 months old that 5 of the 6 babies were able to go home. Baby Lee had to stay in the hospital for additional weeks as she was the smallest. She had also struggled for space in the uterus. Lauren said that Lee had been buried under everybody in the womb, and so she didn't receive enough nutritional flow. Such a situation would usually lead to a not fully developed brain. Unfortunately, due to poor brain development, Lee has had a life a little tougher than the others. The sextuplets are 8 years old now. Lauren describes parenthood having been chaotic and noisy and having a weird schedule, but it's all working out. The support and generosity of friends, family, and strangers have been amazing for Lauren and her family. All the donations, prayers, and support made to the family were overwhelming. At such a troubling and difficult period of their lives, they received a lot of blessings from people that don't even know them. Such help was immeasurable. For the staff at the hospital that ensured the children were strong enough to go home, Lauren holds high regard for them. NICU staff put in hours getting the babies ready to transition into living at home. They also educated the parents on everything about preemie care, which was very helpful. I can only imagine how chaotic it must have been at home, especially during potty training. The family has adapted to a fuller way of life. Lauren calls it semi-controlled chaos. She describes how the first year with the babies was. She had to get into a very structured and organized schedule. Andrew, Levi, and Benjamin, the boys, together with Allison and Caroline, the girls, as of today are perfectly healthy. On the other hand, since Lay's brain wasn't fully developed before birth, she'll require a lot of care from her parents. The good news is, she started school together with her siblings, and we thank God for that. Lee goes to school for children with disabilities. She's doing great at school. Her face is filled with lots of laugh, and she gives 100%. Lauren calls her their sunshine. She illuminates their lives. Indeed, God had great plans for Lauren. Don't you think so? We do wish all the children the very best and hope to check on them in a few years. This is such an incredible story, an incredible family, and we can only pray for an incredible future for them.